let's ask V.
Bam! What are you doing? You're a character out of the book I'm listening
Andarna,
to.
come back here. Come back.
What?
Andarna, this is not how you ask for things. Try again. What were you trying to ask her to do?
Why are there dragons in my living room? You're supposed to be in my audiobook, not in my house.
We have a question. Can you help make a dress for someone so she can attend a fancy thing with us?
You're not gonna roast me for talking to you? What is this thing?
Well, there's a Fourth Wing theme ball, and we want to go. And we want to take our friend, our human friend, who needs a dress.
Is it gonna be sparkly?
They do call her Sparkle Cat.
Okay.
Yay!
As a rule, I do not do commission dressmaking work. My job is not to make the pretty dresses, my job is to make videos about the pretty dresses. However, on occasion, there are humans who manage to somehow prevail upon me to make them things. Longtime viewers of the channel will remember my best friend Sara, who talked me into a project. A project that involved getting glitter over my entire house.
I'm not sorry about that.
Yeah, because I'm gonna make you vacuum later.
I'm still not sorry about it.
How did you make me do this?
You love me, and I'm really good at giving you books to read and then get excited about. And then I do things like find out about fantasy balls that are based around the books, and I want to go to them.
We all remember what happened the last time Sara dragged me down a literary rabbit hole, and it was an interview with the authors of the Rook and Rose trilogy. This time, Sara informed me of what I hear is an extremely popular book series, and I can understand why, that involves dragons and dragon riders and a protagonist with chronic pain. You can see why I like these. So the Empyrean series, Fourth Wing and Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros. Good representation of a fantasy protagonist with EDS, because the author has EDS. It's pretty rare that I see a depiction of like my daily struggles and how they interact with the fantasy world, even though I don't have EDS, what I have is very different. Some of the experiences are the same, no matter what flavor of chronic illness or pain you have. How did this result in me making a dress rather than just descending down the rabbit hole of books and never being seen again?
Well, because I do things on Book Talk and Bookstagram and all of those fun things, I found A Court of Rain and Revelry, and they are putting on a real-life gauntlet, one of the challenges in Fourth Wing, complete with a fantasy ball at the end of the night, and I'm going.
Take a bunch of the things that happen in the first book and turn them into a LARP?
Yes.
And then have a party about it at the end of the day?
Yes.
I'm not doing like an exact reproduction of a dress or an outfit that's described in the book. Like there is a scene in the second book where the main character goes to a ball and there's a very cool dress involved, but like you're not portraying the main character. We needed to make you a ball gown.
Yeah. I don't have anything that is
suitable for a fantasy
correct
ball.
for this. A prom dress that I had been given secondhand for photography reasons. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, it doesn't really fit me super great, but I really do like the color and the material. Yeah.
Sara lives half a continent away from me, and that meant remote fittings. So you had measurements taken and
Yes.
sent them to me. I remember when we made you the black chemise dress.
Yes.
We had your mom take the measurements,
Yes.
and she sent them to me, and we didn't show you.
Correct. Those numbers, as it turns out, were related to medical issues that were going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That have now been resolved.
Getting resolved. I worked up a just basic mock-up of the top of the dress. The skirt was going to be elastic waist, and I was just going to use the other one, so I didn't have to worry about fitting that. With lacing strips, because we decided we wanted to make this a little adjustable, just in case your size changes in some direction. Mm-hmm. And so it fits you for a good long time with all the work I'm putting into it. We had Sara's mom lace her in, and we checked the fit, and shockingly, it was just about perfect. I've never had this happen.
You may have also had a little extra help with the numbers were measured both by Mom, who has done sewing for forever.
Yeah.
As well as the other measurement was taken by someone who used to work in a costume shop.
Yep. What all are you planning on doing at this event?
Having a party. I accidentally befriended somebody that is working with the guests of honor. So hopefully I get to go hang out with some of our like guest of honor cosplay folk. It sounds like the actual gauntlet itself is going to be scavenger hunt, scrambling around.
Scavenger hunt, like puzzles, and also like some physical challenges. The gauntlet out of the book is basically a vertical obstacle course.
But they really should have a rock climbing wall.
One
with
hopes.
harnesses.
One hopes.
One hopes. I say your tickets include a lot of stuff in terms of food and rooms and drinks. Your tickets include open bar.
We had to design this dress together, and that meant I needed a way of like both cataloging all of the ideas and what the process was gonna look like.
Yeah.
And also like sharing them with you.
Yes, and not just in random internet messages.
Yes.
Or text messages that we can never keep track of.
A lot of costumers put together like these really cool like notebooks where they'll put like fabric swatches and pattern sketches and diagrams and all of that in. And I can't draw to save my life. I can barely draw a stick figure. So a paper project book is not gonna happen for me. But this video was very kindly sponsored by Milanote, who enabled me to put together basically a digital version of a project board that I could share with Sara. So you could see all of the designs, all of the ideas, all of our various inspirations, the fabric I was thinking of using. Historically, when sewing for myself, I haven't done project boards because I have this very clear mental image of what I want. Although I do make extensive, detailed checklists for the process. For a commission project like this, I want to lay out my ideas and plans in a way that Sara can see them too. Here's the main project board, a sort of overview for all the different parts of the process. Milanote has a ton of templates available, and while I didn't see one specifically for dressmaking, I like the structure of the logo design template, so I started there. I added a cute little photo of Sara in the old dress we're repurposing, combined with one of my favorite references she sent me. There's a color scheme to guide the fabric choices, and a little later I added this photo to show Sara what the materials looked like together. A checklist for the big project steps. Can you tell I love a good checklist? I have a ton of little subboards. This section has a lot of the gritty details. This was one of the first subboards I made, so it's got a bit of a description from the event, what she's going to be doing, what I expect the weather to be. I like that you can embed document pages. It's kind of like adding a page that you can fold out of a notebook. This one is to help me keep track of the fabric costs and materials, what's been purchased, how much I paid for it, and make all that information available to Sara. I can change the text color to show that I've already bought something. I do have another little document page like this for Sara's measurements, but I don't like to share numerical measurements for myself or for anyone else because of how society judges people based on their size. So I'm not going to open that page. I made another section for inspiration and design references. Sara had sent me all sorts of inspiration and design ideas. I threw every single one of them in this dress reference board. This was the first one she sent me in Iron Flame when there's a ball seam. This is similar to something the main character wears. I found the design really inspiring with the sparkly leafy bodice. These are all links, so I can just click the link to open it up and see wherever we got the original page from. This one, she sent me the black version, but it's also got a light blue version that we both thought was pretty cool too. The original prom dress on the prom dress's original owner, and then there's another photo of Sara wearing that prom dress, probably AI generated rendering of the dress from the ball scene in Iron Flame. We're not trying to copy this design at all. I found this floating around the internet, and I think it captures the aesthetic we're going for well, with the layers of sheer fabric over each other. We wanted to see if we could maybe do an open back with crossed straps like this, but it was more important to us to have an adjustable corset style lace up back in case Sara changes size or there are fit issues. That wasn't really compatible with these crossed straps. Then here's all of the patterns I am using. This particular 1890s ball gown bodice, I bought this one secondhand. I don't like to give money to this company. I did some pretty extensive modifications to the pattern to make it fit Sara's proportions. Big puffy sleeves were really fashionable in the 1890s, but we want something sleeveless, so we're just gonna skip those. The original dress's skirt was just 3 panels cut out of very wide fabric. If I needed a new skirt pattern to recut the old one, the Laughing Moon 1890s walking skirt pattern, or I can just copy the existing skirt pattern, we'll see how it goes. I'm also making a cloak. I wanted to save this fabric cutting method to make a circular cloak fairly easily. Orlin's Pirate Pants pattern, which I've made for myself and I really, really like, for the obstacle course portion of the LARP. If I make it in black linen, she can run in, she can move in, she won't overheat. Because this whole board is shared with Sara, she can add things to it as well. And I made a board for accessories so she can show me what things she might like to wear with the dress, things she wants to make sure it matches. These adorable earrings that are dragon claws, and then these sword earrings she told me she got from a like Renfest Maker Fair or something like that. I really want a pair of these. She doesn't remember the name of the shop. I'm so sad. I made these metal flower hair clips for her birthday, and I think she's planning on wearing them. And just because why not, she's got this really beautiful silver and blue tiara. You can go back and forth with images in a way you couldn't with a paper project book. I called this section tracking because this is where I am keeping track of my progress on the dress. This section is all the fabrics. Every single fabric I thought about using for this project, I just threw a link to in here. There were two different embroidered meshes that I was thinking of using for the bodice. Threw both links on here, and then she could look at them and decide which one she liked better. Black organza for this underskirt because I want multiple layers of sheer fabric in the skirt. This black linen is what we're going to use for the pattern pants. In case I needed to buy more blue organza, I found some in a similar color here. This is the velvet outer layer and fake silk lining that she's having me use for the cloak I'm making. And then I had the idea that because Sara loves glitter, it would be very cool to have like a sparkly glitter tulle underlayer right under the blue organza. And as I purchased each fabric, I'm able to add a check mark. This has been bought. This is what we're using. Now, here is my checklist happy self going absolutely nuts. I made a separate checklist for every part of the ball gown. The fit mock-up is done, and it was impressively straightforward. I even crossed out transferring the modifications to the actual pattern because there was hardly anything I needed to change at all. For the skirt, I went through like basically every single little step. I've found that making a checklist and laying out every little step allows you to make something in the most efficient order, and it enables techniques that sometimes, like if you sew something one way and then you realize you'd have to undo something to use that technique, laying it all out in steps like this sort of helps me plan and make sure I don't make things harder for myself. I can also move stuff around in the checklist. I don't think I'm going to be able to decide if I want to use nylon horsehair braid stiffening to the bottom of the skirt to make it stiffer and fluffier until I actually see it on Sara. So I'll just move that to the end of the list. It is so satisfying to see a project laid out like this, enough that I might start doing it for all of my bigger dressmaking projects, even for myself. Because I'm so bad with drawing and design on paper, I've never tried it before, but having a tool like milanote makes it doable for me. And I don't even have to pay for project notebooks or pens. Milanote is available for free with no time limit. You can sign up using the link in the description, and let me know what you think of it in the comments. Starting from the ball gown bodice pattern, I'm tracing off all the pieces in Sara's size. The back is cut for a button placket closure, which I'm removing. To fit Sara's proportions, I'm converting the two front darts into one, placed directly between them by marking halfway between the tops and bottoms, drawing a center line, and tracing the dart shape around it. Then, all the bodice pieces are traced onto cotton muslin and cut out. Mock-up construction is super simple, just sew up the darts and seams, no finishing. The center back has pre-made lacing strips, super useful to try on back lacing mock-ups. I mailed the mock-up off to Sara, and she and her mom tried it on for a fitting. I was absolutely floored to see that it fit perfectly on the first try. Feels like a big step up in my pattern alteration skills, especially given I couldn't see Sara in person to fit the alterations. We do need to make one modification. We want this to have a 2-inch lacing gap. It can go tighter if it needs to, and then I'm also gonna put it in a probably 6-inch wide modesty panel so it can get bigger if it needs to. I need to make that lacing gap come from somewhere. If I just took 2 inches out of this, there wouldn't be a back piece at the waist. It's too narrow. I need to go in and grade 2 inches out of the probably side back and side pieces. I don't want to do it out of the front pieces because it'll move where the dart is on Sara's front, and I want that to stay the same. I am beyond excited about the fabrics we got for this. This is the fun of being able to mix historical methods with modern materials. So this is bra cup lining material. It's sheer-ish, like it's got that nice meshy texture, but it has no stretch. It's really sturdy and it's really supportive. So I can make the inner structural layer out of a couple layers of this with some boning channels in it, and that'll be nice and solid, but it'll still give the like many layers of sheer fabric effect that I'm going for the entire dress. The outer fashion material for the bodice is just as incredible in person as it was when I saw it online. I'll see if I can cut it in the direction where it has less stretch. The embroidery is just, let me show you the right side. It's amazing. I had to order 2 yards of it because it's only 36 inches wide. And when you put them over the top, the effect is just incredible. This one was Sara's choice and she has great taste. So I am so excited to get to play with this. It's possible I only needed 1 yard of this, but then I would have had to get extremely creative about the layout. And instead, if I have 2 yards, I don't have to worry about being super sparing about fabric. I'll have plenty for the modesty panel. I don't actually know how I would mark on this, so I'll probably end up weighting the pieces and then pinning them in place. At least I've got enough of this fabric spare that I don't have to be super anxious about cutting into it for the first time, which is good because that would just slow me down. Well, not worried about fabric waste when cutting, but this heavy embroidery was literally a struggle to cut through with my scissors. I'm cutting 4 layers at once out of the bra tool, since each piece of the lining will be double layered to form internal boning channels. This fabric may be much firmer than the embroidered stretch mesh, but it's far gentler on the scissors. I'm adding a rectangular modesty panel to fill in the back lacing gap. It's super simple, a rectangle the length of the center back, 6 inches wide plus seam allowance, also 3 layers with internal boning channels. Marking the darts got a little complicated. My graphite transfer paper won't show on either of these fabrics. For the bra tool, I cut the dart out of pattern paper and traced the negative space in chalk. But chalk or pencil won't show on the mesh, so I had to thread mark the darts by sewing loose basting stitches in red thread, then cutting them apart. When sewing darts through multiple layers, I always stitch down the center line first so the layers don't slip and separate and mess up the dart. Then I can fold down the line to sew the dart. From here, it's the fast part of bodice construction, pinning all the pieces to each other, and sewing a lot of straight seams. I'm also stitching a line around 3/8 of an inch from each seam to form those internal boning channels, including at the center back for the lacing. Now we repeat the entire process on the blue embroidered mesh, minus the boning channels. To construct the modesty panel, I'm basting 3 edges of the 2 bra tulle layers. Then I'm marking 2 boning channels in the middle to keep it smooth, and 1 more at the edge that won't be sewn to the bodice. Once those are sewn, I'm placing the mesh on top, right sides together, and sewing around the same 3 edges. That way the bottom is open to add the boning. I saw this fabric that has glitter worked into it, and Sara and I had the idea to use it for the second middle layer of the skirt. So the glitter would kind of be visible under the light blue organza. I should tell you, I despise glitter. I hate it. I am not a sparkly person. I cannot stand the stuff. And this fabric is shedding glitter all over everything it touches. So, Sara, I hope you understand what a monumental gesture of affection it is for me to not just throw this stuff in the textile recycling and come up with another plan. Also, you're vacuuming the glitter out of my floor. The original skirt pattern was 2 trapezoids with rounded top and bottom edges. I don't need the center back seam, so I'm just sewing and overcasting both sides. The bottom edge is a rolled hem, and all 3 layers are basted together at the waist. I've cut rectangles for the placket and the waistband, folded in half with the edges turned in. One side of the placket is sandwiched to stick out of the seam, and the other is sewn on, turned under, and secured through only the inner layers. The waistband is pinned to the waistband edge and top stitched. I wanted to reinforce the front while elasticizing the back, so I'm sewing a length of twill tape to a slightly shorter length of elastic. This will get threaded through the waistband, secured at the halfway point, and then pulled through the back to gather it in. I saved finishing the bodice for once Sara was in town and I could do a final fitting. The modesty panel is stiffened with synthetic whalebone, cut to length and sanded smooth so it doesn't poke through. That open edge is turned in and top stitched to close it up. I hadn't sewn the lining shoulder seams yet, so I'd better do that now before I close up the bodice. The modesty panel is sewn onto the inside layer, just past where the grommets will be at the left center back. I had to pull out the red thread marking with tweezers before pinning the neckline edges to each other, right sides in. I'm using spiral steel boning for most of the bodice channels since it flexes around curves. The center back gets heavy synthetic whalebone to stabilize the lacing. Once all the boning is in, I can close up the bottom edge. I hand-finished the armholes while at lunch with Sara and a local friend working the Dragon Gauntlet LARP, so no footage, but it looked a lot like this footage of me hand-finishing the back edges, just curvier. The eyelets are marked out with Amped Atelier's amazing gauge, pierced with an awl and set in with grommet setting pliers. The second set of eyelets are marked through the first line, so they line up. And finally, this dress needs a pocket! The pocket slit is opened up at the right height so Sara's fingertips will reach the bottom of the pocket bag, through all 3 layers. The outer 2 are finished loose, and the pocket is set into only the innermost layer so it doesn't pull the skirt off kilter. Behold, a ball gown. And not just any ball gown, a ball gown using meaningful recycled materials made with historical techniques and patterns that has a giant pocket.
While the Dragon Gauntlet LARP has the ball separate from the obstacle course, my badass of a best friend decided to frolic through a creek, climb up a stone wall, and do a penché while hanging off the wall in it. I hope you had fun seeing the collision of historical sewing and fantasy cosplay. You can find me around the internet at Miss SnappyDragon and on patreon.com/SnappyDragonStudios. Tell us about your favorite fantasy book outfits in the comments, and subscribe for more costuming adventures, because, well...
Come with us. Come with us.
What?
Come with us! What if you came to Gauntlet with us and we had fun?
But now I have to make another dress! And an outfit for Gauntlet.
Put in Darnassus, please.